We have here an exhibition of work by Llyn Foulkes, who is in his late 80s and is a local legend here in Los Angeles. He's been living and working here since the 60s. And most of the work here has been made in the past 5 years over the pandemic. And you'll see that the collection of works are sort of in his signature style. Things have changed somewhat as he's aged. Obviously, his eyesight has changed, and the way that he looks at things is different, and the way that he sees things is obviously different. And so the visual vocabulary has changed. It's become slightly more graphic. You'll see the bright blue color, so he can sort of see things. But he's still working in the same collage style, but not with the same kind of like layered details before. And things are sort of maybe a little broader patches of color and more graphic than they were in the past. In most of his work, you'll see Llyn is kind of against most organized groups. He is not a big fan of, sort of religion, politics, the art world, Hollywood and Disney in particular. You will see that he's sort of using he's sort of reaching out, and Mickey is the sort of object of his ire slightly as before, and in the image implantation and his sort of magnus opus that he worked on from 2017, he talks about obviously the sort of the implantation that goes on in people when they work for Disney, more in front of the camera than behind, although he had some family members who were involved in the corporation. But in the image, you see that he has the text from the manual, as you were, for Disney when you become a member of the of his world, and various little objects that sort of talk about that experience. And he is always looming large in these images. In this implantation, he is the dunce, and you'll see him in Ding and Dang here. He is also the figure as well. In his life, he was raised by a very overbearing grandmother, and he also had quite a few ex-wives, and I think he kind of sees himself as being in this kind of dynamic for much of his life. And he promised the sort of the white picket fence, and sort of the ideal scenario going forward. That's not quite what it worked out to be. You'll see with the sort of the empty field behind him, and then the rosebud sort of promising this sort of like grand capitalist giant, and that's not quite exactly how life turned out. So often Llyn is always in the object of his work. He's always referencing other experiences in other groups, but often the lens is actually turned on himself. So he's the person that is going to be seen in these. And then you'll see here in the broken chain, where this is from a taxidermied lion that he has actually had in his studio since the 60s. Legend has it that it is one of the original MGM lions that sort of roars in the credits, in the opening credits of. That was an exchange for Llyn back in the day, and he's always wanted to use this piece, and he actually combined that with a bald eagle. It was a taxidermied bald eagle, but obviously we had to not use that, and we instead had a sculpted version, because then the piece couldn't actually be sold or exchanged or shipped outside of the state. He is referring here to of the millions of slaves who left the African continent, most of whom were not able to track back their lineage. There were 93,000 that were. And so in the card catalog, you'll see these are, sort of to reference those people who were able to track back their lineage. And then on this side of the exhibition, you'll have some of his more, again, like sort of this collage works, and some pieces from his Bloody Head series, which he's been working on since the 70s.